You think you're being kind. You think you're being a good person. But what if I told you that every time you say yes when you mean no, every time you abandon your own needs to make someone else comfortable, you're not being generous, you're being controlled by your own fear? People-pleasing is not kindness. It's a survival strategy born from trauma. And here's the disturbing truth. The people around you, they can sense it. They know you're not being authentic. And instead of respecting you more for your sacrifices, they respect you less. Fear masks as kindness. Today, we're going to expose the dark psychology behind people-pleasing, what really drives it, how it destroys your relationships and your sense of self, and most importantly, how to finally break free. Because the person you've been betraying the most is yourself. The fawn response. When we talk about trauma responses, most people know fight, flight, and freeze. But there's a fourth response that psychology has only recently begun to understand, and it's the one that creates people-pleasers. It's called the fawn response. Fawning is the use of people-pleasing to diffuse conflict and feel safe. When you were young, if expressing your needs led to punishment, rejection, or emotional withdrawal from your caregivers, your nervous system learned a devastating lesson. Your authentic self is dangerous. So you adapted. You learned to read the room before you walked in. You learned to sense what people wanted before they even said it. You became hypervigilant to the emotional states of others, not because you're empathetic, but because your survival once depended on it. Your ability to sense what others need developed as a defense mechanism. The child who couldn't fight back and couldn't run away learned to appease, to become whatever the threatening person needed them to be. And that child grew up, but that survival program never stopped running. But here's where it gets even more interesting. The hidden contract. Here's something people-pleasers never want to admit. Their kindness isn't free. There's always a hidden contract. You give and give, expecting on some unconscious level that your sacrifices will be repaid. That if you're nice enough, accommodating enough, self-sacrificing enough, people will finally love you, finally approve of you, finally give you what you never got as a child. Hidden contract, unspoken deal. But here's the brutal truth. You never told anyone about this contract. They didn't sign it. They don't even know it exists. So when they fail to reciprocate, when they take your giving for granted, you feel betrayed, resentful, angry. But you can't express that anger because people-pleasers aren't allowed to be angry. So it turns inward. It becomes depression. It becomes passive-aggressive behavior. It becomes this simmering bitterness that poisons every relationship you have. The people closest to you are enjoying the benefits without paying the price, and you keep wondering why you feel so empty. Now that you see this pattern in yourself, hit like and subscribe to keep exploring the depths of your psyche with me. There's so much more to uncover, because the next piece of this puzzle is even more disturbing. Abandoning yourself. Every time you override your own feelings to accommodate someone else, you send a message to yourself. And that message is, you don't matter. Your needs aren't important. Your feelings are inconvenient. Over time, this creates a devastating psychological phenomenon. You literally lose touch with who you are. The chronic abandonment of self is the deepest wound of the people-pleaser. Ask a chronic people-pleaser what they want for dinner and watch them struggle. Ask them what makes them happy, genuinely happy, not what makes others happy, and see the confusion in their eyes. They've spent so long being a mirror, reflecting what others want to see, that they've forgotten they have their own image. Their personality becomes a collection of adaptations. They become whoever they need to be to feel safe. But safety built on self-abandonment isn't safety at all, it's a prison. And the worst part, you built the bars yourself. You became your own jailer. But what happens when someone actually sees through this mask? The resentment cycle. People-pleasers are often described as nice, accommodating, easygoing. But underneath that pleasant exterior, something else is brewing, something they're terrified to acknowledge. Rage. Rage. Every suppressed boundary, every swallowed need, every fake smile adds fuel to a fire that burns beneath the surface. And here's the cycle. You give without being asked. You expect appreciation that never comes. Resentment builds. You feel guilty for feeling resentful because nice people aren't supposed to feel angry, so you give more trying to prove you're still a good person. And the cycle repeats. Give, expect, resent, repeat. This is why people pleasers often explode seemingly out of nowhere. Years of suppressed emotion finally break through the dam, and everyone around them is shocked because they seemed so calm, so agreeable. They had no idea there was a volcano inside. But you knew. You felt it every day. You just didn't think you were allowed to let it out. And this suppression has consequences far beyond just feeling angry. Toxic attraction. Here's a disturbing pattern that psychology has documented extensively. People pleasers are magnets for narcissists and emotional manipulators. And it's not a coincidence. Predators can sense who won't enforce boundaries from across a room. Think about it from a manipulator's perspective. They need someone who won't push back, someone who will prioritize their needs, someone who feels guilty for having their own desires, someone who has been trained since childhood to abandon themselves for others. You're not just compatible with toxic people, you're their ideal target. Your kindness is being weaponized against you. And the relationship that develops follows a predictable pattern. They take more and more. You give more and more. You think if you just love them enough, give enough, sacrifice enough, they'll finally appreciate you. But they never will. Because they're not looking for a partner, they're looking for a supply. A narcissist will never love you. They will love what you do for them. Breaking this pattern requires something terrifying. Learning to disappoint people. But most people pleasers would rather suffer. The authenticity cost. There's a psychological price for wearing a mask every day, and that price is intimacy. Real intimacy, the kind that makes life meaningful, requires vulnerability. It requires showing people who you really are, not who you think they want you to be. But if you've been performing your entire life, vulnerability feels like death. Mask equals isolation. Here's the painful irony. People pleasers desperately want connection. That's often why they please in the first place, to secure love and approval. But the connection they create is with a false version of themselves. People don't actually know them. They know the performance. So even when you're surrounded by people who seem to love you, you feel profoundly alone, because the person they love isn't you. You cannot be truly loved for who you are while pretending to be someone else. This creates an existential loneliness that no amount of external validation can touch. You could have 1,000,000 people who approve of you and you'd still feel empty, because you know the truth. They don't really know you. And if they did, would they still stay? The body remembers. People-pleasing doesn't just affect your mind, it lives in your body. The constant hypervigilance, the chronic stress of monitoring everyone else's emotional states, the suppression of your own needs, all of this takes a physical toll. The body keeps the score of every emotion we refuse to feel. Studies have shown that chronic people pleasers have elevated cortisol levels. They're more prone to autoimmune disorders, chronic fatigue, and gastrointestinal issues. Your nervous system wasn't designed to be on high alert constantly, scanning for threats and adapting to others. And then there's the exhaustion. The bone-deep tiredness that comes from never being able to just be, from constantly performing, from the mental labor of anticipating everyone else's needs while ignoring your own. Many people pleasers don't realize their physical symptoms are connected to their psychological patterns. They go to doctor after doctor, looking for what's wrong. But the problem isn't in their body, it's in how they've learned to relate to the world. And that pattern can be changed. Boundary terror. Ask a people pleaser to set a boundary and watch the terror in their eyes. It's not that they don't know they should set boundaries. They've read the books. They know the theory. But when the moment comes to actually say no, their body goes into full survival mode. For people pleasers, setting boundaries feels like risking abandonment, because in their nervous system, boundaries equal danger. As a child, asserting yourself may have led to rejection, anger, or withdrawal of love. Your brain learned having needs is threatening, speaking up is unsafe. So even as an adult, when you try to set a boundary, your body responds as if you're in mortal danger. Your heart races, your throat tightens, You might even feel like you're going to die. No means danger. This is why intellectual understanding isn't enough. You can't think your way out of a trauma response. The body needs to learn through experience that boundaries don't actually lead to annihilation, that you can say no and survive, that people can be disappointed in you and you'll still be okay. But first, you have to understand what you're really afraid of, the real fear. At the core of every people pleaser is one fundamental terror that drives everything else. It's not the fear of conflict, though that's part of it. It's not even the fear of rejection, though that's closer. The real fear, the one that controls everything, is this: worthlessness. Deep down, people pleasers believe that without their usefulness, they have no value. That if they stop doing things for people, if they stop being helpful and accommodating and self-sacrificing, no one will want them. The belief that we are not enough drives all self-abandonment. This core wound usually forms in childhood. Maybe your parents only showed love when you achieved something. Maybe you were praised for being easy, for not causing problems. Maybe your needs were consistently ignored, teaching you that you weren't important. Whatever the origin, the belief took root. Your existence isn't enough. You have to earn your place. You've been trying to prove your worth your entire life. Every act of people-pleasing is an attempt to prove that you deserve to exist, that you're worthy of love. But here's what no one told you: you were always worthy. You were born worthy. And nothing you do or don't do can change that fundamental truth. But knowing this intellectually and feeling it in your body are two different things. Breaking free. So how do you break free from a pattern that's wired into your nervous system? It starts with one uncomfortable truth. You have to become willing to be disliked. Discomfort equals freedom. Not everyone will like the real you. Some people, especially those who benefited from your people-pleasing, will resist the changes. They'll call you selfish. They'll guilt-trip you. They'll try to pull you back into your old patterns. And you have to let them. You have to grieve the relationships that can only exist when you're performing. Real healing requires reparenting yourself, learning to give yourself the validation, approval, and unconditional love that you never got. It means starting small, noticing when you're about to abandon yourself and making a different choice, even if it's terrifying. Every time you honor your own needs, you heal a piece of that wounded child. It means learning to tolerate the discomfort of disappointing people without rushing to fix it. It means building a relationship with yourself, the person you've been neglecting your entire life. This isn't about becoming selfish. It's about becoming whole. True kindness can only come from someone who has learned to be kind to themselves first. The path out of people-pleasing is not about becoming cold or uncaring. It's about becoming authentic. It's about learning that your worth was never determined by how useful you are to others, that you deserve love not for what you do, but for who you are. The greatest burden a child must bear is the unlived life of the parents. Perhaps your people-pleasing began as a way to carry someone else's emotional burden. Perhaps you became the stable one, the easy one, the one who never caused problems because someone needed you to be. But that role was never yours to play. And now, finally, you can put it down. If you made it this far, comment authentic if you're ready to stop performing and start living. Welcome to the Psyche Project. If this gave you something to think about, subscribe for more. Understanding yourself is the work of a lifetime.